Hey everyone, it's Kennedy Catholic High School. This is Mr. Mobini. I'm now at the Basilica of St. Paul outside the walls. This is the church dedicated to the Apostle Paul. Even though he was not necessarily one of the 12 apostles, his life's contribution was amazing. Taking consideration, his name was Saul, who later had a major conversion on the road to Damascus, was blinded by a light, knocked off his high horse, and it is there that he began to really question himself with the catechesis of Ananias, and ultimately himself getting baptized. 3 years later, he comes out as Paul and goes out to the ancient world to proclaim the gospel boldly. He never saw Jesus, never hung out with Jesus, but yet the gospel message penetrated deep into his heart, and henceforth he went out preaching to the Gentiles all over Asia Minor, and then made his way here into Rome, ultimately joining Peter. Now, one of the interesting things about St. Paul that you should be aware of is that he was present at the very first council of the church, in the Council of Jerusalem. See, a council gets its name from the city that they're held in, hence Jerusalem, and the apostles were there. And there was a big question about the newly converted Christians. Should they go into the dietary laws that the Jews had? Should they be circumcised before they're baptized? In other words, become Jewish first and then become Christians later. Ultimately, from there, what we see is a huge shift, back and forth debates. Paul tells Peter exactly what needs to happen, and then he leaves it to Peter. Because remember, Peter's the one with the keys. He's got the authority. Ultimately, Peter speaks and no one questions. It's because Peter had the authority to speak, but it was because of St. Paul that he brought that Christianity began to move into the ancient world. Well, what, am I stopping? Is it raining like really bad here? We'll just keep going. Why not? This is the grace of God pouring on me as I'm pouring rain in Rome, out of all places. I feel like I'm in Seattle now, guys, so just so you know. So anyways, Paul later went to Rome and joined Peter, and both of them were captured under the Emperor Nero, and Peter and Paul were imprisoned. Paul was never afraid, never abandoned his faith, and ultimately he laid down his faith as Nero put him to death by beheading him. One of the reasons why he was beheaded outside the city walls of Rome is because he was a Roman citizen. And so Paul ultimately laid down his life in this very spot where he is buried, right behind me in the church of St. Paul outside the walls. And you'll see here the beauty of the church that radiates behind me is the original look of the 4th century basilica. We talked about the designs of the church, right? That the first church was built in the 4th century. If you ever come to Rome, you will see the beauty of what a 4th century basilica, thanks to the Emperor Constantine that allowed Christianity to build these churches here when you come to St. Paul. Anyways, I wish you guys a blessed weekend, especially now that you have homecoming game in the dance tomorrow. Please continue to pray for us as I am praying for you. I look forward to seeing you all back really soon. Good luck on today and all the classes you guys have, and may you have a blessed weekend. God bless you. Take care. Bye-bye.